Welcome back to the Beast Game Podcast. This is going to be a review for Passengers. It's directed by Morton Tildrum. He is known for The Imitation Game with Benedict Cumberbatch. It's written by John Spates. He's known for Prometheus and Doctor Strange. It stars Chris Pratt as Jim and Jennifer Lawrence as Aurora. Pratt has been in Parks and Rec, Guardians of the Galaxy, and Jurassic World. Lawrence has been in the Hunger Games series. The summary: a spacecraft traveling to a distant colony planet and transporting thousands of people has malfunctioned in its sleep chambers. Two passengers are awakened 90 years early. One thing I want to say that this movie started out on Hollywood's script blacklist. It was actually written in 2007 by John Spates. So Keith, what are your general impressions of Passengers?
I went into this movie thinking one thing: they'll malfunction in space, two people get woken up. It's kind of like an Adam and Eve type thing that's going to happen, with the thrill being that they have to save the ship and save their lives and stuff. I got something a little bit darker than I thought. This made me sit up and go like, whoa, that just happened. It managed to surprise me despite what it seemed like to be a by-the-numbers sci-fi love story. It managed a bit of a little twist and a bit of realism into it that had me take notice of it. But I thought it was a pretty good movie. I thought it was a lot better than I thought it would be, mainly because of the attempt at grounding the storyline, an attempt at grounding not just the storyline itself, but the characters and their motivations and their reactions to one another. And I thought Chris Pratt and Jennifer Lawrence had chemistry together. They were enjoyable to watch together on the film.
My overall feelings about this is that the first half of the movie is essentially Chris Pratt by himself on the ship, where everyone else is asleep, and he has to figure out how he can survive because, again, he's 90 years too early from being woken up. And
well, that's the just to cut you off a second. Well, it wasn't that him surviving, because keep in mind he had access to all his food. It was like basically he had the whole run of the ship, but he was basically woken up 90 years too early, and by the time they got to where they were going, he was going to be dead.
Correct.
So he had food, he had water, he had access to everything. He was just running around having fun.
Because there were some parts that were blocked off to him, but he was living the equivalent today's technology would be a ship liner or something,
right?
Some cruise line, that he is the only person that is conscious, and for the majority of the ship he has access to, and the ship begins experiencing some problems. So it's about how he can deal with some of that. But the atmosphere was great. That is important in a science fiction movie. It had great cinematography, good CG. I will say that the isolation of Chris Pratt feels genuine. It seems as if a lot of the decisions that he was trying to make would be logical when somebody's by themselves. So he goes through stages of enjoying himself and stages of depression, stages of grief, and he's trying to figure out how he can survive long enough to make the trip to this planet that he knows that he's not going to be able to, as far as his age is concerned, he's going to die by the time he gets there. So I know you said that Jennifer Lawrence and Chris Pratt had good chemistry together.
Yeah.
One of my problems with this movie is with Jennifer Lawrence.
Oh, here we go.
And her ability to convey emotions.
She conveyed plenty of emotions.
No, Keith, no. So
she conveyed quite a bit of emotions there, Barry.
Her emotions.
Please explain.
All right. So let me explain the range of her emotions.
Oh, God.
It is pouty face.
Oh, God.
And anytime that she had to be really emotional, she does this orgasmic hyperventilation.
Oh, for the love of God.
And it happens so many times in the movie. Jennifer Lawrence is okay acting, and some people think that she's this great actress. She is okay.
She is.
For what she's asked to do in this movie, totally serviceable. But someone needs to work with her on her ability to convey emotions. Really, the only negative I need to say, I was satisfied how the story progressed and would have preferred a different ending. And actually, if you read into the original script, it had a different ending. Like my view on this.
Wait, before you do that, let me count up what you said about Jennifer Lawrence. That's how she is when she's upset. And that's the way that you might not like it. You can't say she's not conveying emotion.
No, she goes from bewilderment to hyperventilation. That is her acting for emotion. And if you watch that movie again, in the context that I just described to you, you will exactly see the same stuff in Hunger Games, same range of emotions. And I don't see how someone from behind the camera could have allowed that. But that's my only negative about this movie. And
All
again,
right, we'll agree to disagree on that one.
and just like it's not my only negative, but my other negative is just about the ending. I just would have preferred a different ending. So, would you agree with something that one of the things I've noticed is that there's a trend with a lot of science fiction movies that they need to have a love angle. And I have this movie and 3 other movies. One other movie gets that correct. 2 other movies get it wrong. I'm going to compare this movie to Oblivion and say Oblivion gets working in the love angle with science fiction correct. And my 2 other movies that are the negative examples are Interstellar and Arrival. Do you agree?
Interstellar didn't have a love angle.
The whole movie is built on love. Like
The love angle was with his daughter, dude. What the shit?
the whole movie is built on love. There's love.
Okay, all right. Oh, okay. You didn't like the love angle in Interstellar. Okay, Oblivion had a twist to it. The kind of love story behind that wasn't convoluted. It was tragic in that the woman's original husband died, but his clone lived on, and like there was enough of him within that clone for them to fall in love again. I mean, and then all the subsequent clones, they fell in love with her again. So there was a bit of tragedy in that. So I think that's why it worked out better in this movie. And then probably that's why you probably like the original ending as well for Passengers, because there was a stroke of tragedy in that.
All right. And what about Arrival, which is also
Arrival,
a movie
I thought
about love?
Yeah, I would agree that wasn't handled well. Namely, that it was kind of thrust at you from the signing. You kind of saw the attraction of the characters, but it suffered from the movie's twist, I would say. I thought the Passengers, this one got the love angle right. So I would agree with you.
Do you have a score for Passengers?
I give it a 6. It surprised me in how that stroke of realism in it. Chris Pratt waking up and just being alone for that length of time.
Yeah, it's basically about 45 minutes of the movie that he's alone by himself. Because it starts off with him waking up.
Really feel it. Everything he did, you understood. You couldn't fault anything he did, but at the same time, the other side of that coin, you can fault everything. I like that they didn't Hollywood up the consequences of his actions and her actions as well.
Yeah.
It would have got a higher score if they'd edited the movie in such a way as they didn't make it seem like all was forgiven when the ship was dire distress. There should have been more of like Chris Pratt's character kind of just genuinely like making a more of an effort to say like, okay, I did this and this is my way of atoning for it.
I like the grounded approach to the technology on the ship. I mean, it wasn't too far off from what better science fiction movies and TV shows would do.
Right.
And aside from just my viewpoints on the ending, like the ending that I would have liked to see would have been a better ending. It is a well-rounded science fiction movie, much better than Arrival. And there's another movie that I've seen earlier this year that this was better than. So I'm going to give that a 7.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I liked it. I would revisit that movie and rewatch it, given the chance. I think about that movie more than I think about Arrival. Just because Arrival has a different concept. It's more about aliens, but the science fiction aspect of it, I would rather live in that universe of Passengers than Arrival. I'm just talking about the movie universe.
Right.
So let me just wrap that up. That's the Beast Game Podcast. You can find more of our podcasts at beastgame.com, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Twitter, and YouTube.